Honest community, before we dive into this episode, we've got a quick free favour to ask. If you enjoy the Honest Property podcast, please hit like, follow and subscribe wherever you're listening from. It helps us grow, reach more people and bring on guests that you want to hear from. Thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate you more than you know.
Hello and welcome to the Honest Property podcast. We're your hosts Becky and Ruth, and on this podcast we love to spill the tea on aligned wealth building. We've done a lot of conversation about property, and this one is also on the topic of property. Today's topic is the fact that property isn't passive, or is passive income the biggest lie in investing? Passive income is why a lot of people do get into property, which is our wealth method of choice for the most part. But it's also the sexiest scam in the world, the fact that it is passive. You can solve the dream. You think that you can just buy a building, like hand it over to somebody else, sit back, and the rent rolls in. But the truth is, property isn't passive, especially with the latest changes that are happening. At the very least, this is relevant to the UK market. And with the Renters Reform Bill coming in, it's forcing landlords to be very much more involved and responsible for their assets in the UK.
So if you're trying to be a passive landlord, that's not cutting it anymore. No. Good riddance.
Yeah, the government wants you to run it like a business. So is passive income even real, or is it just a really lazy phrase in building a financial wealth?
I mean, from our experience, Manai, I think
Ruth calls me Manai. She's probably mentioned this a few times. That just means older sister in our Filipino dialect. Heads up, if anybody's confused why she's calling me Manai, not Rebecca. I think she slips into it sometimes.
Yeah.
For context.
I would say, truthfully, because this is the Honest Property Sisters podcast, Honest Property Pod, where we sold the as 20-something, fresh trade 20-something, did we believe passive income was from property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To a degree, yeah.
That's the issue now, because it's not as passive. It's definitely not as passive as it used to be. And I think people, it's such a huge investment, a lot of money that you're using. And I think you can also say, well, money is money, and the value of money, they see it as, spend it, but more will come, which is great, which is true. There's abundance, have an abundance mindset. I agree. But there's also, you cannot ignore the fact that there's a lot of money at stake to buy an asset, especially if you're borrowing it from someone else. You cannot be passive. You cannot be actually passive and say that, I think, on social media, saying, property is, you earn passive income, when actually there are so many factors that need to play into it to be able to keep that asset running continuously, so that what they should really be saying is it's less day-to-day effort to receive that recurring income. And I think the choice of words needs to change, especially on social media. And I would say we have been guilty of saying passive, but we like to say close to passive, but maybe we should not be saying passive at all.
Well, the thing is, it's in the scheme of holding it for a really long time, like a bit of land or even a property. I mean, obviously, if there's a building, there's going to be a degree of maintenance, which makes it not passive. But even if you didn't do that much maintenance, or it was just land, you held on to it for a really decades, that's passive, because it's going to go up in value.
Passive. Yeah. Even if it's got loads of weeds. It's got loads of weeds. Nature's now, a lot of nature's now living there. Well, good for them.
Yeah. But in the context of the traditional dream, buying a buy-to-let house, flogging it off to an agent to do it all for you, and getting your monthly cash is a thing of the past now, because the law basically says that it's not the agent's responsibility if they screw up, if they get it wrong. from our experience, if you listen to our previous podcast, we've had our own experiences with different types of agency, long-term let agency, short-term let agency. Some of them have gone really well, but and some of them have just really not, because you don't know what the inner world of any individual company looks like. They could be fine one moment, and then like there'll be issues going on within it the next moment, and then the consequence of any mistakes that happen doesn't lie with the agent, it lies with the landlord, and the cost of those mistakes could be tens of thousands of pounds.
I'd also say that this is even more important if you are not even living in the country, because you need to keep your eye on the ball even more because you're far removed. I think when you're in the country where your properties are, it can be you can, I guess, be a lot more eyes on the ball. But when you are, a bit like geographically removed, you can't deny that you need to be a bit more aware. Like being passive there is being complacent. Maybe that's like, I don't know, just like it's a bit, you're being complacent, because who's going to keep you up to date on the law changes,
Yeah.
And I've seen an influx as well, and I think you agree, we've seen an influx of a lot of landlords that are taking back responsibility of managing their portfolio and not relying as heavily on property managers.
I've seen that. Yeah. Well, people are treating it like a business, or at least the people that we know are treating it like a business, or they really don't want to deal with it at all, and they're just selling, which I also don't blame them for either, because that is not why a lot of people first got into it. They didn't want to keep chasing the constantly changing compliances, dealing with the repairs, the expense of having a void, the different tax changes. This is a very UK based regulatory reality. The tenant, there's various tenant rights and forms you'd have to, and lengths of time and timing of providing different sections and the legal reforms. It's a lot for somebody who just thought they were going to get, it was just going to be rented and then you get cash every month and that's it. There's actually so many moving parts that you need to be aware of, and you will be penalized for not knowing about them. So yeah, it's definitely not passive anymore. Like, it's the least passive it's ever been in our time being in it. So I do want to disclaim the amount of time it takes relative to a job, relative to a 9 to 5, is a few hours a week to be on top of this if you have a portfolio, in our experience. But that doesn't mean, you definitely can't just like leave it there.
Or even using an agent and expecting them to update you. You need to ask. You need to keep
if you think if you're an agent, imagine you're an agent, like, and you have, your goal is to get as many properties so you get as good a healthy commission's worth of income and fill those properties. It's the landlord's duty to know, especially if you have a mortgage, what are the conditions of your mortgage, what kind of tenants are you allowed in there. Your responsibility of licensing in the area varies and changes. The licensing regs change often. That's the landlord's duty to know. Or the agent's duty to know is I need to fill this with the type of tenant that the landlord wants. It's not their job to and get their commission. Like, that's it. And address like issues. But like, if you're managing like tons of properties and you're busy running and like coordinating viewings every day, like, the attention to detail is just not going to be, like, your urgency isn't going to be for any one particular property. Like, the level of attention to detail won't be on any one particular, like, it won't be as much as if you just manage yourself. Also, with the new changes, there's going to be like an ombudsman that every landlord's going to have to go on. You're forced to be very much a part and not give noodle effort anymore with your assets. And it's like Ruth and I have also said in the past, property is uh, wealth storage and means to create a life you want. It's not fun. Like it's not
With everyone would do it.
like who's that? Like it's fulfilling knowing that you're providing somebody with a home, but it's not like a fun job. It's not like a fun creative job that we personally would prefer to do. Like this is creative and fun, but not
Yeah.
like property. Like people don't. It's not like if it's becoming a bit more of a you've got to clock in a couple hours every week just to make sure everything is compliant and ticking over fine. It's not a fun job. I'm just saying it.
Hey guys, if you're new to property investing, we know exactly how hard it is to figure out where to start. That's why we created the Beginner's Roadmap. It's your guide to mastering the fundamentals so that you can move forward with clarity and confidence. Just hit the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into this episode.
No, we didn't get into property because we thought, oh, just love it. And we say
Love
this all the time.
management.
It was
Love reading reg.
it was a way of wealth storage. Yes, we did we get cash flow, but it also allowed us to focus on our creative business. It's not, we're multifaceted. We don't believe in just doing one thing. And property is not like, ooh, I'm screaming property and that's like everything I only care about. I care about providing rental homes for the market. I care about people like that. There's opportunity for everyone to have. We need a rental market, and that's the truth. Not everyone wants or can buy a home, so we shouldn't force them to. And this is why landlords exist. There are good and bad landlords, but because they're people, it's not that because you put landlord in front, the title makes them
Yeah.
bad or good. It's humans are bad and good. They do good. Good people do bad things too if they're not informed with right information.
Yeah.
And a complacent landlord is because uh, if you are treating your property, which is meant to be run like a business, as passive, you're going to behave passively, and passive
Mm.
landlords get burned, just like in any industry.
Well, especially now. Especially now.
Especially dating,
Mm.
continue personal development. If you want to continue um, building a portfolio, we're not advocating have hundreds and thousands of properties. We just we know how many we want. We're happy with that. We're not saying that everyone needs to be, you know, we're not saying that everyone needs to strive for 100 properties. It's just if you have one, or you are a small portfolio landlord, or even a big one, wherever you are in your wealth building journey, you need to be compliant and you need to keep on top of your continued personal development when it comes to keeping that asset running. If you don't want to do that, it's also okay to sell to someone else. You might want to create that as have that as a home now, or for another landlord who can then use that property to rent to someone else. It's okay to it's okay to accept to pass the torch. Is that the phrase? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no one's trying to hoard. Money flows. I always said this before, that money flows, wealth flows. And I think there's like a big hype as well, also in the media, where they say, oh, landlords trying to get rid of their properties really quickly. Like, try to make it seem like, oh, it's a scaremongering thing, which I don't agree with. Because there are a lot of landlords who have strategically decided to sell
Yeah.
properties to pay off their other
Yeah.
properties because they've got to a time where they can pay that off now. But the media likes to paint it as if we should be scared. No, this was a plan. Like, what? I don't know. That's my view. Not everyone is striving to have like these landlords that are like hoarding all these properties. People pass them on to people as well, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think if you're not into it, pass it on, or like just sell it.
Okay.
Keep your
Use
capital.
it
Keep
for
your
wealth.
genuinely. I know this is like quite uh the opposite of what we tend to say, which is like get assets and keep them. Get my main message is get one. It doesn't even have to be in the UK. Like, you could do it
No.
anywhere. You could, like, there's a lot easier entry, like, depending on whether you're the type of person you are. It could be, you like running an Airbnb. Obviously, that gives you more cash flow. We personally like buy-to-lets because that gives us a predictable income, and there's a lot less to manage. But
Yeah.
depending on your strategy, if you just have one, if everyone, especially, like, we love the idea of every woman, especially having one property.
Mm.
Doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter if it's like some kind of physical asset.
But when we start
That's like
investing in property,
a manageable amount of asset. Where it doesn't have to be hordes of it. You don't need to have a
yeah,
million doors and ego count how many you have. It like a manageable asset is fine. If you've got more than you need because you don't want to be so involved with the active management or active, like, the regs and like the compliancy and this compounding difficulties, I think is probably being done on purpose so people don't hoard properties. But get rid, like, it's almost like give them what they want. I'm not gonna fight with the, like, I feel like there is an agenda to get landlords to get rid of their properties, but at the same time, like, you really don't need that many.
but I also would like to add as well on social media, especially with property gurus saying about like how like encouraging people to hoard properties too, and that will like
Hmm.
to build their wealth only through property. And I think it's also
Yeah,
okay to switch your wealth strategy. Maybe you want to take the money that you had in your property and put that into something that feels more
something
passive
else.
and realistic in your
Yeah.
time, as long as you
Yes.
make sure it's still important. I still believe in creating wealth. I still believe whatever that wealth looks like to you, and that's putting it into something that might be easier to manage for you, and that might not be property anymore. But for Becky and I, when we started, because we wanted to pursue a creative business, a passion business, property has always been our retirement plan too.
Hmm.
So we need to know that, like, is that plan still the right plan for you
At this stage.
at this stage? We sold one of our properties. We were
It was
always told
strategic.
only hold. There was never ending. You just keep buying properties, but where's the end? And that's why we always want to talk about where's your cap and where's the end?
Yeah.
When does it stop?
If it
Like,
doesn't if it doesn't make sense for you now because things are changing so much, then just don't feel the pressure to keep acquiring when it just doesn't make sense to, and maybe consider selling things so that whatever you have is manageable and it's not compromising your stress or risk. Because the advantage of property is your income is leveraged on your manageability capacity of tenants, your agents, because you have to keep an eye on them too, your mortgage providers, and your ability to keep up. And that's not passive, it's risk managed. But obviously, if you have less of those things to manage, it's more manageable. If you have so many of these and just so many things on your plate, just consolidate it in a way that makes sense to you and aligns. Because Ruth and I, like, we don't want to be part of the pool of property gurus out there who are like, just keep scaling, just keep building, and
we're not wealth
that's
hoarding.
it.
I don't know
No,
what the
build.
right term is for that. Is that wealth hoarding? Like, we're not trying to wealth hoard. I'm sure there's a better term. Like, we want to create enough wealth that allows us to still like pours into our cup, then that we can then create meaningful work for others too. But we're not trying to be the person. We're not trying to be the people who are trying to have those 100 doors.
No.
Before we continue, here's a quick thought. Ever feel like there's just never enough time to focus on what really matters in your business? You don't have to do it all alone. As they say, a great team makes everything easier. That's why we've partnered with the Freedom Geek. Their talented Filipino VAs help us with tasks like admin and podcast editing, just like for this episode, giving us the freedom to focus on what really moves the needle. If you're looking to reclaim your time and to work smarter, then check out the Freedom Geek. All the details are in the show notes. Now let's get back to our conversation.
No, let's just like check your ego. Maybe like there is a different way that actually aligns with you. That's going to give you your time back. If these changes mean that you're going to end up, pardon?
I was going to say, if that aligns with someone else and they actually really want 100 doors because that amount of doors builds the wealth that they actually want, good for you. That's not me.
Yeah, if you're happy to keep up with all be very much involved in the way that it's changing now, go for it.
Just become
Um,
complacent.
yeah, but just a reality check with the reform bill coming in, there's no more hiding. Section 21 is gone, which means that you cannot evict at will anymore. Compliance is stacking up, which is going to include fines. I don't want to scaremonger you. We want to give you, this is Honest Property Podcast, we want to give you the reality. If you can take on these, if you're happy to keep up with these regulations, then like I'm just laying out to you what's coming. You can't just evict at will. The compliance is stacking up. Fines, licensing, and councils are targeting select landlords. And you cannot outsource any of this legal responsibility to an agent. They will take their fee, and if anything goes wrong, like you're left with the fine. You cannot pretend to be a passive landlord when the law is changing under your feet. And I see some people who have their properties and their portfolios, and they're like, this is not like, I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. I'm going to listen to my gut. I'm going to sell and put it into something else, or into a different market and a different economy or a different business where I am happier. You don't want to be a passive landlord and put your head in the sand and think that the rent is easy cash, because it's not anymore. You got to think like a business owner, and if you not everybody's entrepreneurially minded.
Actually, I will challenge that. It was never easy cash. All of it was work, like so much work. Even if you delegate to someone else to do that, you still have to keep on top of checking that they're doing the job. It's not like none of it is easy. I don't want to say any of it is easy, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like, if you're going to go into property, know that you're going into something that, as in becoming a landlord, that is great responsibility to have to house other people and manage and make sure that the asset stays standing and is and meets all the regulations, because you don't want to accidentally build a, like, there's cases of people who like developers who have built these huge flats, like blocks of flats, and then there's no compliance with like certain fire regulations, and then they burn down, and like you've killed all these people. I think it's a good thing that people should be held accountable for making sure that the assets are looking after people, so that terrible things don't happen, like losing your life. So I think we should hold people who decide to house people accountable, but it's not to scare anyone. It's to keep everyone. Regulations are there to help make sure that everyone is doing.
That's just an insurance thing. That's an insurance thing, though, and that's up to the contractors and the head leaseholders, or if it's if it's a block of flats, that's up to the freeholder.
But I'm saying, if you're trying to be a complacent landlord who doesn't do anything and just sits, the stereotype of a complacent landlord who is receiving passive income and they're sitting on a beach sipping a cocktail and not caring, that's what's painted in the media. And the media is trying to remove those kind of landlords, because they don't want to know what's happening with the asset. They just want to receive the cash.
So if you want,
they don't even like do anything to update their properties either. So
that's true.
I get why. Like, how do you think an asset's going to keep running if you don't have any customers, aka the tenants, wanting to come and live at the property? What's the point of
so you have to run it like a business owner now. You have to run it with systems, be able to self-educate with the changing rules, and be compliant in order to survive long term. Because there's stories in the media where an agent who was dependent on too much ignored compliance, and then the landlord got fined thousands. And there's several stories like this. So it's not a side thing anymore. It's definitely a business. Treat it like one. And if it's not for you, that's also cool.
Yeah, and that's fine. They go into other types of investing, like stock, like really passive, like just do index funds. If you really want to be really passive as you can be, just do something else that's not property, and that's okay. I know it's
Yeah,
very
property
colloquial.
is just one.
It's just one
Well,
form.
it's just one asset. It's just one asset type. It's not like there's loads of asset types. We liked it because it capitalizes in value, and you can, if you can be bothered to keep up with the compliance and the regs, you get recurring cash flow if you buy smart. But it does come with
Yeah.
those risks and changes that you have to keep up with. The other things that are definitely passive are your stocks, like ETFs, royalties, affiliate income, which isn't actually, it still require all this. It requires
Still,
upfront work to set up, monitor.
requires marketing.
Um, yeah,
It's marketing. Passive income is marketing slogan online. That's all it is. It's to entice people. It's just a psychology term. That's all it is, to get people to buy into it.
mm.
That's the truth. And as long as like you understand that, and then you know what you're buying, like understand and then realize that you have the power to then make a decision, because you knew that anyway. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is like it's like with anything that you're being sold to, because everything is just sales online, isn't it? And you can decide what kind of marketing you want to accept and go, okay, I will be influenced by this. I think the old way that property was portrayed was that everything was passive, and then people were sold into that marketing that it is. And I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of saying that it is very passive. You have to be compliant now. You really
Yeah,
have to be compliant now.
yeah, It's a passive income is potentially a coping mechanism for people who just don't want to do the work. But the reality is, you do have to do some work. Now you do,
Yeah.
at least for sure in the UK.
So I just want to wrap this up because I've got to go and pick my son up from school. But I just wanted to repeat that money won't save you from yourself. If you can't run your assets, they will run you. And so the passive landlord is dying. It doesn't exist anymore. The Renters Reform Bill proves it's survival of the fittest and the smartest. And passive income is rebranded laziness. So you don't get the freedom by checking out, you get it by showing up when you are actually being proactive in making sure that your assets are keeping up with the regulations. And just don't be passive in life. It doesn't exist.
Even if you put your money into your stocks and shares and bonds, like keep an eye on them. I mean, that's probably that's the most passive. I would say that's probably the most passive. Or buy a bit of land, leave it there. But you're not going to
Yeah.
earn anything from it now. It's delayed gratification,
Yeah.
and you're going to get a small amount of ROI on that. But if that's what you want,
If you want fast money,
yeah,
then try and do some, that takes a lot of time. The close to passive, or like as passive as you can get. The one like wealth. If you're trying to build any wealth takes time to build. True wealth takes time, and we'll never advocate for quick. What's the term? We'll never advocate for
get rich quick.
get rich quick, because that doesn't build wealth. That builds short-term cash.
Well, something's
And
got to give.
if you then do that, we'll then put it into wealth storage. That then takes time. And that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Can you manage the risk and keep up, basically? If you can and you're willing to do it, then go for it. But we're all
Yeah.
about aligned wealth building and building slowly and sustainably, and wanting you to have the best life without being too stressed to enjoy it. So, yes, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who needs to hear the real side of wealth building. And thank you for listening to the Honest Property Podcast, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.